today I'm thrilled to welcome a true serial entrepreneur and a man of many talents, hailing from the beautiful island of St. Croix in the Caribbean. He's not just an entrepreneur, but a Navy veteran who served for 8 years, sharpening his skills and growing into the leader he is today. His business portfolio includes real estate investing, radical finance strategies, life insurance, ATM investing, equity slash angel investing, and even CBD vending machines. So he's here, of course, to share his journey and provide valuable insights into building diverse income streams and financial independence. Marcos, welcome to the show. Thank you, man.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. Appreciate it.
All right, all right. So let's dive in real quick into your early years, and journey into entrepreneurship. How has grown up in Saint Croix? And I'm saying it right? It's Saint Croix, right?
St. Croix, you're close.
Saint
St.
Croix.
Croix. Yeah.
See, I dated this one girl that said it. Okay, no, that's so it's not French then. It's not French. So okay,
Santa Cruz.
Saint Croix. So it's
Yeah.
not Saint Croix. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, growing up in Saint Croix shaped your entrepreneurial journey. Yeah. So how did growing up in Saint Croix shape your entrepreneurial journey and perspective on business?
So I wasn't business minded until after I got out the military. I will say that the habits that were instilled in me as a young man
Hmm.
growing up with my father, that was at the core foundation of who I am
Hmm.
today. And
Hmm.
so even though I didn't have any business experience, I don't excuse me, come from a long line of entrepreneurs or anything like that,
Yeah.
it did instill grit. I was
Hmm.
very hardworking. I was a hardworking man. I've been working since the age of 10. And
Hmm.
so that grit, that determination, and working my first job at an early age,
Hmm.
that instilled some very core principles in me that still prevail today. One of the most powerful tools my father gave me, he didn't leave me money, he didn't give me an inheritance or anything like that.
Hmm.
He gave me the ability to critically think through a problem.
Hmm.
And my dad was very well educated, holds a master's, two
Hmm.
master's degrees. And
Hmm.
so you very well educated man, but worked hard most of his adult life.
Hmm.
And so that grit and that determination and that work ethic was instilled in me and still has helped propel me in the various businesses that I do today. So I will say that I didn't have any business experience, but I did develop myself as a young man on my beautiful home.
Outstanding, outstanding. That's and a lot of times, that grit and those soft skills, they are far way more priceless than people that inherit money or businesses from family. So awesome, awesome, wonderful.
Very true.
Yeah. Now you served in the Navy. I'm Army man. No, not good. But yeah, I know. I was up there in Fort Meade, man. But you couldn't even tell the difference. I snuck into the Navy barracks a lot to watch. What it was, TV shows and everything. But let's not go into that. But um, so no, you were in the Navy. How did your 8 years in the U.S. Navy prepare you for the world of entrepreneurship?
So the Navy, great question. The
Hmm.
Navy gave me my leadership skills,
Hmm.
and you see things, right? You see different leadership styles, you see different
Hmm.
cultures and diverse
Yeah.
set of people from all over the world. And
Yeah.
so seeing the different interactions and working relationships, and the military is a very tough environment, but
Yeah.
it's very rigid and stern and very organized environment
Yeah.
when you see systems and processes when good leadership is in place, and you see bad systems and processes when
Hmm.
bad leadership is in place, and it molds you
Hmm.
into who you've been destined to be. And so,
Hmm.
coming up in the ranks, I started as a E1 and worked my way up, all the way to E5 before I got out the military. And
Hmm.
so, um, that molded me, right? Being a grunt and working my way up and seeing
Hmm.
the different leadership styles and the work ethics and the drive. I already had
Hmm.
a work ethic, but seeing different types of people and learning to communicate with people, that
Hmm.
was a different side of me. Learning what about people and becoming a
Hmm.
real people person, because
Hmm.
what most of us grow up in is our own natural environment, and most people, I think one of the best things for an individual to do is leave home. And so
Hmm.
when I left home and when I left St. Croix, and I was exposed to this wide variety of different people and cultures and
Hmm.
races and ethnicities, it changed something in me, right? And
Hmm.
I encourage most people who to leave the nest, and so they can be exposed to not just their bubble that they're used to, because that can stifle you and stifle your development and stifle your growth as a human being by
Hmm.
staying in your comfort zone. And
Hmm.
so I'll say that about the military. The military taught me a lot, it exposed me to a lot, and that what I knew forward facing as my reality was
Hmm.
not. I'm thinking St. Croix is the world to me, and
Hmm.
it's not. It's only a
Hmm.
small blip on a map compared to the different cultures and race and people. And so learning to communicate across the globe is a
Hmm.
skill. And so my time in the military, I was administrative clerk, but I was an administrative clerk on a submarine.
Hmm.
And so working on submarines, working in submarines, and learning the different ins and outs and going on mission and preparing the ship to go on deployment, and being in waters we probably had no business being in.
Yeah. Oh,
It molds you. It
right.
molds you.
Yeah. Hey man, you
So
were on a sub, man.
yes, sir, I was.
Hey, you seen that movie Hunter?
Hunt
Is
for
it the
Red
Hunter?
October.
No, not Hunter. It's called Hunter with this guy. Oh, now I don't even know the actors, but no, it's like anyway. Nah, I will talk about it. We get. I'm pushing. I'm supposed to be staying on track. Look at me asking about movies, but anyway. No, okay, great. That's great, man. Awesome, awesome. So it looks like you picked up a lot of core skills and a lot of direction from the Navy.
Yeah.
Um, are there specific skills that jump out at you that you picked out from the Navy that have impacted your business ventures?
Um, one of the core skills that the I really still use to this day
Mm-hmm.
is, the stressors. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of when I encounter some people in business,
Mm-hmm.
they're very stressed,
Mm-hmm.
and as they move up, more money, more problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I found is, because of my experience and my time in the military, it taught me how to handle and manage stress. And
Mm-hmm.
we see this all the time, right? Where veterans get out the military who've been exposed to combat, they've been exposed to Agent Orange, they've been exposed to radiation, they're thrown in to a very high stressful environment.
Mm-hmm.
And the unfortunate thing is, most of the time that leads to medical problems. But the other side of that coin is it builds your resiliency and it puts you on another level. Things that would
Mm-hmm.
typically crush the average person in business is normal to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so th- I would say that that's one of the things that when I started my first venture into real estate investing,
Mm-hmm.
most men my age at the time were not buying homes. They weren't buying real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most men, they're either at home or they're renting somewhere. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the statistic today, very few men are homeowners,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and the statistic today is women are leading the charge. There are more female homeowners than there are
Mm-hmm.
men.
Oh wow.
So that statistic, and I wasn't aware of that statistic. I just knew who I was and that I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to own a home. And
Mm-hmm.
owning a home and going through that process led me down, and starting my business led me down
Mm-hmm.
the path of real estate investing. I would have
Mm-hmm.
probably never gone down that path had I not purchased real estate for myself. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, most men have not experienced the joys and the hardships of owning a home
Mm-hmm.
because, again, of that skill that I learned and was exposed to in the military, which is
Mm-hmm.
it's hard,
Mm-hmm.
do it anyway. Where
Oh
and
wow.
so most people fail, they crumble. Most men, women, when they expose themselves to certain aspects of business, oh, I don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
that. I've never been that way because my skin is so tough from being
Mm-hmm.
in the military. You don't in the military, you don't get to say I'm not going on mission.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just going to stay. You don't have that opportunity. You
Mm-hmm.
can't not go to work today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they throw you in jail. And so
Uh-huh.
again, that fortifies in you the ability to push through. It's because
Mm-hmm.
you don't have the option to say I don't like this. I don't like this
Mm-hmm.
situation. I've been working 18 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours straight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to go home. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have that option. And so again, that's unfortunate. It's not something I'm bragging about, but it
Mm-hmm.
does give you a superpower on the other side of that most
Mm-hmm.
veterans have, that they can withstand a little bit more than the average person. And so when you have entrepreneurs and veterans particularly that go into business, we're
Yeah, yeah.
more
Mm-hmm.
often than not we're very successful because we
Mm-hmm.
can tolerate a lot more.
Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so I'm
You're welcome.
what you said jumped out at me. It's hard, do it anyway. Hey, we're gonna put that on a bumper sticker, man. I'm starting to collect bumper stickers ever since I started this podcast. That sounds like a good one. Okay, so I was trying to guess to see whether you would say something like "comfort is the enemy." No,
Hmm,
that's something like that is something that somebody like David Goggins. You know David Goggins. Ah, yeah,
I do. I read both his
you definitely
books.
know David Goggins.
Yeah.
Hey, no, Goggins was former Army. Then he was an Army Ranger, and then he turned around and became a Navy SEAL. Man, I'm telling you, man, in all aspects of life, has been my number one inspiration and influencer. From
He is.
and from that was former military. Yeah, 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 yeah. Thanks for sharing that, man. Now, on building the diverse income streams. Yeah, I'm going to ask you actually an interesting question on this because I just listened to another podcast that was kind of like on the other side of that uh, popular belief. But before that, let me just jump into what got you started in real estate because when it hits someone, it's kind of like a mind opening. What that when someone discovers about real estate, it's weird because it's weird because a friend of mine was telling me, "Oh man, my kids don't want are not looking to buy, are not so too interested in buying houses." I'm like, they don't get it. They're thinking to them, you're telling them to buy a fixed location where they stay for a long time. To them, they're not thinking stop burning money, buy a
Mhm,
house. You see what I'm
mhm.
saying? So yeah, with that perspective, can you kind of share what got you started from your own vantage point, and what advice that you might have someone for for people looking to get in.
Absolutely. So I'll say this, I didn't have a background in real estate. What got me into real estate investing was
Hmm.
my very first experience in business
Hmm.
was multi-level marketing. And so I
Yeah.
did a multi-level marketing company. I
Hmm.
was indoctrinated. I saw all the fancy cars and all of that,
Hmm.
and got invited by a friend. I was at a job interview,
Hmm.
and the person interviewing liked me or or didn't like me,
Hmm.
but they wanted to recruit me for their multi-level marketing. So I was went to a presentation. Again, the fancy cars, the money, the potential
Hmm.
for money that I
Hmm.
could make got me into business.
Yeah.
Um
Uh-huh.
a year fast forward a year or two later, I
Hmm.
got out of that multi-level marketing, but I was still excited about business.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
so I researched it, and the common denominator that most entrepreneurs get started in is I got my hands on a copy of Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and reading that and how he talks about real estate and how to make money in real estate,
Hmm.
um, was my initial catalyst to start doing it myself. And so I went,
Hmm.
purchased my first home, and dove in from there. But
Okay.
the uniqueness came when I bought my first house, and
Hmm.
I did what's called house hacking,
Hmm.
and where you rent out parts of the house for
Yeah.
money. And so I
Hmm.
was house hacking with that first house, and I bought a 4 bedroom, 2.5 bathroom house, and I rented out each room for about $700 each, which,
Hmm.
and my mortgage was only 1,000.
Wow.
And so I was making money while in the house.
Wow.
Over time I was able to save up enough and buy two more properties,
Hmm.
and continue to path down real estate investing. And so the beginning throws was doing it, but
Hmm.
also reading it and not getting stuck in analysis paralysis is what they
Hmm.
talk about.
Hmm.
And but I had to do the thing, right? I couldn't just read about it and read about
Hmm.
it and read about it. I had to actually go do it. And by doing it, I
Hmm.
was able to practice and put into motion the things I was learning at the same time.
Hmm.
And so house hacking, to me, in my opinion, is still a great way to get into real estate.
Yeah.
I now I align myself more so with people who want to get into real estate. I tell
Hmm.
them, don't buy a single family house, buy a fourplex. And so,
Hmm.
since this is a veteran podcast,
Hmm.
veterans have the unique access to the VA home loan, which
Yeah.
allows you to buy a fourplex, up to a fourplex, which is a still classified as a residential property,
Yeah.
and you can buy a fourplex under your VA home loan, which has no down payment.
Yeah.
And so you can get into a fourplex unit with
Yeah.
your VA home loan with no down payment, and you
Hmm.
can start hacking your way into financial freedom. So
Oh
that is
wow.
my advice. That'll be my continued advice that I give to anyone, but
Hmm.
especially veterans.
Oh, okay. Okay. Great. Great. Yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome. So you were literally making money. So that first house, you were literally making money. Literally the income on because of the way that you had configured it, uh, by putting people in those extra rooms.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
and that's house hacking. Okay.
That's it.
Uh,
Because I still
uh,
lived there. So I was
yeah.
in one of the
Okay.
rooms, and so
Mm-hmm.
I rented out the additional spaces.
Mm-hmm. All right then. What is the most valuable lesson that you learned from a real estate deal that didn't go as planned? Because you remember, I think it's Mike Tyson that said that everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the face. Of
Yeah.
course, what he really means is that you might plan as much as you want, but when you actually go to execute the plans, the reality of the entire setup will hit you by surprise. But so did you? Yeah, did you have any deals that went wrong, or what things that you didn't expect happen?
Yeah, so I had a deal go really bad. And my advice is slightly different. So the deal was bad. It was a bad
Hmm.
deal from the jump, from the purchasing to everything. And what should have happened was, when I incurred um my first two obstacles, which was, it was difficult to get bank financing, it was difficult to get approval.
Hmm.
Um had to go through several different insurance companies, because
Hmm.
none of the insurance companies initially, or the common insurance companies, didn't want to insure the home. Those were some very big red flags.
Hmm.
And the problem was, I pushed through
Yeah.
when I
Uh-huh.
should have just let the deal die, right?
Hmm.
And so that's my advice in that sense, is when you're buying your first property
Hmm.
and you're encountering obstacles,
Hmm.
sometimes pushing through can be a good thing if the numbers make sense and the deal makes sense.
Hmm.
But that deal did not make sense, and I had all the warning signs telling me that it doesn't make sense. The first
Hmm.
bank I applied for to purchase the home with my VA loan um denied it, and said, we don't want to take on this risk.
Hmm.
Second bank, and I had to go through at least three banks to find a bank, a subsidiary bank, that their whole goal is to finance the deal, and then they're going to sell it to the big fish. And
Hmm.
so it's a private company that buys real estate deals, packages them up all nice and pretty, and then they use their capital to help to fund the deal. And once the deal
Hmm.
is funded, then they sell it to the big banks, the Wells Fargo's, the Bank of America, the Chases. And your
Hmm.
bank gets and your loan gets transferred to a bigger institution.
Oh
And
wow.
so
Huh.
that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
So, and I should have stopped after the second bank had declined to
Yeah.
finance the property. And so
Hmm.
that was one of my biggest lessons learned. I just recently sold that house finally.
Uh-huh.
Um, but it was problems through and through.
So
Very
let
Go
me
ahead.
ask you: are these banks now? Are they giving you any detailed feedbacks that say, "Hey, Marcus, we know you want to go through with this deal, but we're going to deny you because of X, Y, Z. Look, over here, it doesn't meet this criteria. Over there, it doesn't meet that." Are they being helpful and specific on why they didn't want to you know finance the deal, or was it just kind of like one of those vague communications?
So it's a letter. They give you an official letter,
Hmm.
but the letter is very vague.
Oh, okay.
There's not an actual person to talk to,
Hmm.
because you don't get to talk to the underwriter directly, who
Hmm.
who who vetted the loan that you submitted, or the loan request.
Oh, okay.
So all you have is the letter, and the letter is very vague in what it says. Outside of the normal stuff, like maybe you may get a letter saying, we couldn't figure out the debt to income ratio,
Hmm.
or the debt to income ratio was off. You'll get
Hmm.
those common stuff, or credit score affected it. But also too, if you get to the portion of the home inspection,
Hmm.
the bank doesn't provide they the bank doesn't provide their findings to you unless you paid for that home inspection. So if
Oh, I
you
see.
pay for the home inspection, then that's your report.
Yeah.
But
Uh-huh.
whatever the bank uncovers, they don't
Hmm.
have to share any of that with you.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay.
And so it was unique, just going from bank to bank and then getting denied. But again, being the motivated individual that I was, I pushed through it. And I
Mm-hmm.
just said, well, what's next? Let's find another bank. Let's find another third
Yeah.
party institution, which led to me finding that agency that, like I said, they fund the deal, they get you the deal. Once it's funded, they sell it to a big
Okay.
institution. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was a huge stopper, and I should have stopped at that point. And so I say that to say, when you come across obstacles on on your
Mm-hmm.
deal, those are sometimes those are safeguards, right? If you're just finding too
Mm-hmm.
many hiccups, too many big issues, too many big ticket issues,
Mm-hmm.
that might be an indicator to stop moving forward with that real estate purchase.
Oh wow. Oh okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Thanks for sharing all the details on that. So actually, give me just 1 second. Give me just 1 second here. Oh, okay. So we're back. So now let me ask you. Now you're obviously been exposed to various financing strategies. Can you share some unconventional or not too widely known finance strategy that people often overlook?
So unfortunately, not really,
Hmm.
because anything I do or have done, I've done with cash.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So outside of like a mortgage, the
Hmm.
down payment was all cash.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
all my ventures, all my businesses, my ATM ventures, my real estate,
Hmm.
um, again, with the exception of a mortgage, have been cash.
Hmm.
So I have never done a hard money loan. I've never done bridge lending. I've never done any of those buzzword lending options. I've never
Hmm.
used the venture capital. I never used someone else's money. All my
Hmm.
investing has been with my own money. And so the first real estate deal, when I purchased it, I put in the overtime, right? I did the Uber, I did the Lyft, I did anything to make extra money and stash it away so I could
Yeah.
come up with the money to close on my first house. Now, even though there's no down payment that I need to make, there's still
Hmm.
closing costs and costs that you incur in buying a house. And so all of
Hmm.
that was cash. I didn't
Oh,
use
okay.
any of so unfortunately I can't speak in depth about those experiences because I've always used my own money.
Oh, okay. I got you. I got you. Okay, great, great. Um, and okay, let me ask you a somewhat related question then. So, how do you obviously in any type of business, there's going to be risk. You have had a few of them under your portfolio. How do you approach risk uh, when it comes to executing all these different strategies that you have under your belt?
Absolutely. So I that's a great question. I take a look at risk, and
Hmm.
I learn how to mitigate the risk by looking at potential ways to get out of the deal if it goes bad. So
Hmm.
one of my most unique and riskier ventures is my cannabis vending dispensaries. And
Hmm.
so it I found a company that was looking for investors so they can launch um this state of the art, very technologically advanced system. And
Hmm.
so the cannabis dispensaries were a unique thing, and I think they're a bit, and I still think they're a little bit ahead of their time. But it
Hmm.
was this gentleman who was looking for investors to invest in his startup.
Yeah.
And so he had patented the technology.
Hmm.
He had a plan of execution. And so for years, I watched him. And
Hmm.
at first, I gave him a little bit of money, gave him like a couple of $1,000,
Hmm.
and to kind of see where he goes with it, right?
Hmm.
Because in the beginning stages, he was just a website,
Hmm.
and he wanted to incorporate blockchain technology into the dispensing of cannabis. He had some partnerships with different vendors to supply the cannabis based products, and
Hmm.
then what changed is he got one location. He had the website, which was great, well done, and it worked, it functioned. You could order cannabis based products from the website that was shipped directly to your front door. But then he got two big things happen. He got a major contract from Simon Property Group, which is a major um it's a Simon Property Group is a major real estate conglomerate that owns a lot of um shopping malls,
Mm-hmm.
and their properties tend to do very well. They
Mm-hmm.
survived the COVID-19 pandemic, and so
Mm-hmm.
Simon Property Group they were awarded a major contract to put these cannabis dispensaries in in all of their shopping centers. And so they were
Mm-hmm.
approved to do that. So that was a major win. And then the launch of their first actual cannabis dispensary in New York. That was their first location. And so those two things allowed me to invest more money, and now I own a decent amount of shares in the company. So, and the unique thing that happens when you invest in a business is when you invest in a business, typically you're giving them cash in exchange for one day, maybe 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or it may never come, where this company will pay you back either through several different options. Either they go public and they become a publicly traded stock company, or they get bought out by a competitor. Those are two of this identifiers in how you get your money back that you invest in. And so, w- again, those two big things, he launched his first location and he was
Mm-hmm.
awarded a major contract with Simon Property Group. So
Mm-hmm.
that gave me comfort in knowing I can invest with this company, and I trust them. And
Uh-huh.
so that's what I did. And so I learned a lot in doing that. So I learned a lot. And in so investing in a company, I also gained shares in the company, but I also gained the ability to earn my money back
Mm-hmm.
while it's being invested. So the cannabis dispensaries, I own about four locations,
Mm-hmm.
and those locations make me money while I'm doing other things. And that
Oh,
is a
okay.
unique and rare opportunity that doesn't happen when you're investing your money. Is you don't
Yeah.
typically make money right then and there unless it's like
Mm-hmm.
stock, bonds, or mutual funds.
Mm-hmm.
So that was different, and that was the unique thing I learned.
Oh, wow. Oh, great. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
let's take a look here. Okay, so by the way, the cannabis, I know that it hasn't been given a green light across the board as far as all 52 states. So is it something that's on the rise, generally speaking, or has it plateaued? Just out of curiosity.
It is on the rise. It is
Okay.
still on the rise. Um, it's just the laws keep changing depending on what
Mm-hmm.
state you're in,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on what happens. Right? You have
Mm-hmm.
people that abuse the product. You have people that misuse the product, and then in some states, people actually end up dead from overdosing. So in my state, cannabis was on a huge rise, especially cannabis flower was on a huge upshift until
Mm-hmm.
some mom purchased cannabis gummies, and her minor child overdosed on the gummies and died.
Mm-hmm.
And so that changed things here in my market, in the Virginia market. But overall, it's still on the rise, right? You can find cannabis dispensaries and stores still popping up throughout the United States as the laws continue to move in a favorable way. So I know several businesses that have shut down simply because they didn't have the infrastructure to stay afloat with all the changing regulations, because they're changing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so a lot of my competitors have gone out of business, but I have been in business now for about 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
and 5, 6 years. And that's because I've partnered with people who have the infrastructure, have the lawyers, have the knowledge, have the insight
Mm-hmm.
to keep us compliant and out of harm's way. And the technology
Mm-hmm.
is really incredible.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that real quick. Yeah, I was just curious because I know because some of my favorite few people I follow, got into it, almost kind of like on the same trend line like real estate. Like Tyson, of course, I believe Snoop, and I think even Jay Z. They're all invested in in one form or the other. Okay, so okay,
Hmm.
just let me roll into life insurance real quick. Most people think of life insurance as a safety net, but you use it as a financial strategy. I mean, can you break that down for us on how on the angle that that you know basically how is it a financial strategy for you?
So life insurance is a financial strategy because
Hmm.
if you have a cash value policy
Hmm.
that's accruing um, cash within the policy, then
Hmm.
it can become a powerful vehicle for funding your real estate or any venture for that matter, funding your business deals. And
Hmm.
so, what I like to align myself with is I like to align. Now, I have never taken any cash out of my life insurance policies because
Hmm.
I've always relied on grit and hard work. But it presents a unique opportunity to have a life insurance policy that's worth $1 million and has $10,000 of cash sitting in the policy that you can use and borrow against and use to fund major purchases, equipment purchases, new equipment
Hmm.
purchases. If you're in real estate, renovate a property, work on a property, do upgrades to a property, and you don't there's no approval process because it's your money, right?
Hmm.
And the other side to there's numerous benefits to it because you're borrowing money. There's no tax implications, and that's what
Hmm.
you hear people, very sophisticated real estate investors talk about, is when you borrow money and you don't have to pay taxes because it's not actual earned income.
Income, yeah.
And so you take you borrow against your policy and that you don't have to pay taxes on, and you
Hmm.
use it to grow your business. And so
Hmm.
that's a benefit. If you die, and now because you're borrowing it, you have to pay it back. You don't. It's expected that you pay it back. But what if you
Hmm.
decide to not pay it back? Right? And so if you decide to not pay the policy back, the policy, as long as you make the payments on the policy and keep it in force, then the policy will just continue. And upon your death, the policy will be reduced by the amount of money you borrow. And so if you borrowed if you have $1 million life insurance policy and you took $10,000 out, then the policy when you die will pay out to your beneficiaries the difference between the $1 million minus what you borrowed. And so you can take this money, use it for your deal, die, and not be penalized and not penalize your family. They're getting a reduced life insurance policy, yes, but they're still getting the life insurance policy, and they're not required or liable for paying your borrowed money back, and you were able to use it. And there's numerous
Hmm.
other facets to this, and like I said, people really need to align themselves with a true bank on yourself professional,
Hmm.
like the gentleman that I do. I don't sell life insurance anymore,
Hmm. Hmm.
but I do align with Bank on Yourself, a true Bank on Yourself professional who
Hmm.
helps you set these policies up for what you want to do with them. And so that's a strategy there. Um, that to your question earlier.
Hmm. Okay, great. Yeah, yeah. That is very very smart. That is very smart. Um, Let me merge a little into ATM investing. Um, what inspired you to explore ATM investing, and how does it work? How does it work as a passive income stream?
Absolutely. So I ventured into ATM investing because I had maxed out all the real estate investment that I could do personally, and I was
Hmm.
still sitting on cash. And
Hmm.
so I did a Google search to say, I have this lump sum of money, I have this amount of money. What can I
Hmm.
do with it? And ATM investing came up at the top of the list. And
Hmm.
so I started researching, I started reading, I bought one or two books, And I also did something else is I found some Facebook groups with authentic players inside of it who also do ATM investing. And I started learning and picking people's brains and having in conversations around the topic with other people who had been in the industry for a really long time. And
Hmm.
so ATM investing works where you get with a processor and you can there's many types of gurus out there. They'll tell you lease a machine. You can lease a machine, buy a used machine from someone else. Um, that was not the approach I took. I found a processor that sold ATMs and I purchased them with cash. And I
Hmm.
purchased my ATMs all cash, no borrowed debt, and I found a location for them. So I did all my
Hmm.
marketing, I did all my own advertising. I bought the machine cash and then I put my own cash in the machine once I found a location. And so ATM investing is a unique passive income stream because once you prime the pump, once
Hmm.
it continuously pays over and over again. So I'll put $5,000 in an ATM today, and the ATM transactions will run.
Hmm.
And tomorrow, that money that was transacted will be in my bank account tomorrow to do the whole cycle all over again. And so the money is made in the fee that is
Hmm.
collected from an ATM. And so I separate the money to so I can see what's my pump cash, my revolving cash that needs to be continuously circulating. And I have a
Hmm.
separate account where the profits or the surcharge that is paid by the consumer, and that goes to a separate bank account. And I literally watch my money make me money while I'm sleeping. And I'll
Hmm.
never forget the first day I that I got a text alert from one of my ATMs, and I was literally sleeping. It was 2 a.m. in the morning, and the ATM had ran empty. And I got a text message at 2 a.m. in the morning. And to some people that may scare you, it's like, oh my God, my ATM's empty. But to
Hmm.
me, knowing how much money I put in there, I literally made money while I was sleeping. And I've
Hmm.
been doing that for also about 7 to 8 years now.
Hmm.
And it's a really great income stream, even today with the nuances around cryptocurrency.
Hmm. I see. So I'm curious about that. The way you put it, the way you describe it sounds very interesting. Just one quick question. Is it one of those ventures that requires a license? I know some investing, well, not some areas of making money, some areas of business, I would say, require licensing. So for the ATMs, because that's handling money, that's really literally, being in charge of infrastructure that people used to do. Are they asked the level of regulation that they have on it? Are they asking that people get licenses? I'm just out of curiosity.
So licensing depends on your state or your city,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that is dependent on where you are and where you live.
Yeah.
Some operators work with get a license to legitimize what they're doing because they're actually going into business and they want to operate like a business. But
Hmm.
you also come across operators who just operate as single solopreneurs, and so it depends on
Hmm.
your state. If your state requires you to have a special license or to get one or mandate
Hmm.
you to get one. And so you want to talk to a lawyer in your state to
Hmm.
see if it's required or not. And then if it isn't, then it's completely up to you if you want to pursue one. But
Hmm.
that's not the hard part. The hard part when getting into the ATM business is finding a bank to have your money deposited into because of how you operate and because you're dealing with high fluctuations in cash and a lot of cash daily, banks typically don't like doing business with ATM operators.
Oh
So
wow.
that is more difficult and I would say more significant and more important than
Hmm.
worrying about whether you need a business license or not. It's finding a bank that would actually do business and allow you to deposit your money and deposit your cash into that bank and circulate that cash at a high velocity, because banks, as most people know, make money off of the money you leave with them. As an
Hmm.
ATM operator, um, my money does not sit very long in the
Hmm.
bank. And so finding a bank that would allow me to operate was the hardest thing to do. And so that's more of a better warning sign for anyone interested in the business.
Yeah, I mean, because it literally makes sense. You're their direct competitor. So
Is
if yeah,
Yeah.
right, and I'm correct on that, right? Because let's say there was a mall, with 100 people, and five ATMs are needed. If you have three ATMs there, that means the bank can only put two ATMs there, and so you're competing with them directly. Is that one of the reasons why they're so hesitant, or yeah?
That's a,
Because
that's
if it was.
absolutely one of the reasons. That's
Mhm.
absolutely, you're a competitor, right?
Mhm.
That's why you see a lot of banks don't charge their members a fee for using their ATMs, because
Mhm.
banks make money off of the fees. They make money on the back end also. And
Yeah.
so what a
Uh-huh.
lot of people don't know about ATMs is, if you've ever pulled up to an ATM, you notice a bank ATM. If you've
Mhm.
ever pulled up to your bank, you'll notice a bunch of stickers around the ATM. And it'll say things like Star, it'll say things like NYCE.
Mhm.
What those are credit card processors. And
Mhm.
what happens is, those credit card processors, when you run your card through those ATMs, the
Mhm.
one of those credit card processors is processing that transaction. The bank
Mhm.
gets a kickback from those processors. So as an individual ATM
Oh.
operator, I get
Oh.
those kickbacks.
Oh.
And
Okay.
again, that's why the bank can not charge you a fee, because they're getting kickbacks from the processors that you run your card through. So Visa, MasterCard, NYCE, those are all credit card processors that are kicking money back to the bank because they made money off of you. And so that's why
Mhm.
your bank doesn't charge you a fee, because you bank with them.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Hmm. Nice. Nice. Very educating. Very educating. Um. Are there some misconceptions? Oh, okay. Because obviously there are. Because me assuming that it's a money business, is a money intense business, I'm thinking they probably gonna want you to have a license for this, a license for that. Um, so, what are the other misconceptions there on ATM investing that's probably keeping people away from it? But you're someone on the inside that has done it for a long period of time. What are some of these I guess uh, incorrect misconceptions that
Sure. Some of the other two misconceptions that are not as big is that people that think that all ATMs are owned by banks. That's
Hmm.
not true.
Oh wow.
And then the next misconception that people have around ATM operators is that a lot of people are broke,
Hmm.
right? A lot of people don't have cash to buy the machine, and much less load the machine. The average American, I think, I don't know what the statistic is right now, but I know the statistic was over 50% of Americans don't have their car insurance deductible. That's
Hmm.
$500.
Hmm.
It used to be over 50% of Americans don't have $500. And so another common misconception is, you can't come into this business and be broke. You need money. Um, I don't encourage anyone to borrow money to get into this business.
Hmm.
I encourage people to work and grind and hustle and save up and invest in it with cash. And because it is a cash heavy business. Um, the most expensive ATM I own is about $4,500. Now that may
Hmm.
sound like a lot of money, but that's a tax refund. That's a tax refund. There are single
Hmm.
moms getting that kind of money for each child. And
Yeah.
so if you just take that money and set it aside and invest in yourself, you'd
Mm-hmm.
actually be able to make a passive income for yourself. But the average American is broke. And so a bigger misconception is you need money to get into this business. I get approached all the time. I don't advertise what I do due to safety reasons, but I get approached all the time by men and women who are broke that want to get into this business. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work if you're broke. And I can't
Oh,
help
okay.
you and I can't teach you. You have
Yeah.
to have money
Gotta
to
have
get in
that
this
cash.
business.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Let's see here. Yeah, you're also an equity and angel investor. I've heard just a little bit about that, so I'm glad that you're here, so you can kind of enrich my knowledge on that. How do you, as an equity and angel investor, how exactly do you identify startups or businesses that are worth investing
Um, so similar to the cannabis dispensary, I look at opportunities, I look at the market and the demographics. I look at,
in?
is it now we have data from COVID. Is it
Yeah,
COVID resistant?
yeah.
How COVID resistant is? What's the margin? A common show that I love is Shark Tank.
Hmm.
Um, I watch it all the time. But I when I look at a deal, I recently was interested in my barber. My
Yeah.
barber has a one barber shop, but
Hmm.
for years he's been telling me that he wants to open a second him and his wife want to open a second location. And so
Hmm.
for years I've observed him, I've watched him, I've paid attention to him and how he has grown his barbershop. And so I recently approached him and his wife, took them out to dinner, and just posed the idea to them in investing in a second barbershop. And I came in with capital and I said, I want to invest. I'm interested. Can we talk
Hmm.
numbers and can we
Yeah,
talk operations and can we
yeah,
talk what that might look like?
yeah.
And so I evaluate a business on its merits, the leaders in the business, who's going to be operating the business. Because sometimes I can bring and also to whether I can bring expertise to the business or not.
Hmm.
Can I add value in an area that this business was lacking in before?
Hmm.
So maybe I have a niche, or maybe I have access to something that will help the business grow exponentially.
Hmm.
And you just know thyself. Do I want to be a part of this, or do I just want to sit back and let things run um, while I sit back and collect a check? And
Hmm.
so I evaluate just the potential. I don't look at speculative. I don't really mess with a lot of technology companies. I like the cannabis business. It's a cannabis dispensary that looks like a big vending machine, but there's so much technology incorporated in the vending machine. So it's taken something that's old, which we all are familiar with, which is a vending machine, and brought it into the 21st century. And it's not a typical vending machine that accepts cash. None of these dispensaries accept cash. It only takes card, and it
Hmm.
automatically dispenses and it automatically checks your age via a touchscreen. So there's a lot of technology around this dispensary. And for the past 6 7 years I've been in operation, I've never had an accidental issue in dispensing to minors. So I look at all these things before I give a company my money. And so those are the things you need to look at. Like I said, when I invested in
Hmm.
the cannabis dispensary business, it they presented something to an offer to me, and an offer to everyone. It wasn't just me, but all the investors, that you could start if you invest with us. We will, if you give us this amount of money, we'll give you these dispensaries to place in
Hmm.
your local market where you live, and you can start making money. We'll give you all the profits, all the
Hmm.
money that the machines make, we'll give them to you. So that was appealing to me because that allowed me the opportunity to make my money back and still maintain my ownership shares in the company. And that's not heard of. That's not done
Hmm.
ever. And so um yeah, you just gotta look at a deal. And it doesn't take rocket science, it doesn't take any kind of like special skills. Does it
Yeah,
make sense? Do I understand how they make money? And is there room in there for me to make money as well? So
you
you gotta look
remind
at the
me. Yeah,
margins.
yeah. You remind me of Kevin O'Leary. You say you watch Shark Tank, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you remind me of Kevin O'Leary, man. You said a lot of the kinds of things that he said with the serious face and everything. But yeah, okay, yeah. Thanks for sharing the insights on that, man. It looks like I got to have you back again, man, because it's like so much to talk about. But yeah, it's very interesting. So I mean, because I don't even think I'll be able to get through all these questions. But let me ask you this. But hopefully I can invite you back. But let me ask you because I know the listeners are going to be curious on this. So with so many ventures, how do you stay focused and manage your time effectively?
Great question. My calendar.
Hmm.
I utilize my calendar. I
Hmm.
was telling my barber today when I was getting a haircut in preparation for this interview that if I don't put something on my calendar, it's not important to me.
Hmm.
That being said, I live by my calendar. And so
Hmm.
I'm able to function and I'm able to operate at a very high level because I manage my calendar effectively. You
Hmm.
were on my calendar. And
Hmm.
so hence why I showed up. If you
Hmm.
weren't on my calendar, 9 times out of 10, 10 out of 10, I won't show up. And so I tell people, if you tell me something or ask me to be somewhere or ask me to come to your
Hmm.
event and I don't put it on my calendar, I'm more than likely not coming. It's not important enough for me to come. And so I say that too, because there's a lot of people in business that are terrible at business. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of people have reached out to me who want to partner with me that I will not do business with because they are terrible time managers.
Oh wow.
And so that's how I'm able to manage all these different businesses and ventures is a properly managed and regulated calendar
Yeah.
on my phone in my pocket.
You take any playbook from Elon Musk? Because
No.
I know I know his businesses are much of a larger scale, but he's like one of the famous people like with like a mix of I guess he doesn't talk about it a lot, but
Yeah,
um
PayPal,
mhm,
Tesla, X,
yeah,
Twitter, yeah. A lot of different you gotta have a calendar.
yeah. Yeah, so but really I want to invite you back, man. Especially I think this year we'll start having panels and everything. But but real quick, if people want to get a hold of you, what is your social media and your website and all that good stuff?
Absolutely. So to connect with me, you can connect with me on my podcast. It's
Hmm.
www.gentlemanstylepodcast.com.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
all my socials are on there.
Okay.
Facebook. And if not, if anything else, you can contact me by my name. On Facebook, it's Marcus Norman.
Okay. Yeah. So and if you listen, I'm gonna have all the links to the social media down on the down on the podcast description, podcast notes, whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But definitely, again, I will it would be so awesome to bring you back because there's like a lot. I mean, this is all this dispensaries and ATMs and engine. Wow, it's beautiful knowledge. But it's been an absolute pleasure, having you on. And I know that Saint Croix is not Saint Croix. Man, I dated a girl
You
that
said it right
corrected
the
me on
second time.
every French word out there. But I don't want to get distracted. Thanks for coming on the show, man. And it's been such a pleasure having you this Saturday. And I hope I can get you back on this podcast again, brother. It's a
Thank
wealth of
you,
knowledge.
man.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
I
Thanks for coming.
appreciate it.
All right.
You have a great one.
You too.
Bye.